Are you a slow artist? You want to go faster, but you don't know how. This is gonna change everything. Welcome to Art Mentor, my name is Sean, and today you're gonna learn bulletproof strategies to turbocharge your artistic process, because these are things that I've never heard anybody talk about, but they're surefire ways for you to level up everything that you're currently doing. So take some notes, don't miss a thing, and let's blast off. Now, what if I could condense everything that you're currently feeling into one singular thing? And that is this: the quality of your questions. And that sounds really simple, but it's something that nobody ever talks about other than me. And here's what I mean by that. Are you ever looking at your artwork and you're saying, like, why does this look bad? Why does this look good? Or why did I do better here and I didn't do well there? And God, why am I so slow? That's the problem. You don't realize it, but you're being inefficient and you're putting yourself down. My friend, if you are starting off with asking yourself poor questions, you are gonna get poor answers, because your brain is a heat-seeking missile for answers. So if you ask yourself, why am I slow? Then you're gonna start to reinforce that. Well, I'm slow because I don't do this, because I'm not that talented, because I'm not that good, because I never went to art school, because I never got a good tutor, because I was born poor. You're gonna find poor answers to poor questions, versus you need to start to think about how to ask proper questions to yourself, like this. You should be asking yourself something to the effect of, okay, how do I do that faster? I like how I did that. How can I replicate that? Inevitably, in every artwork that you make, you will have both successes and failures. And this is true for amateurs and for pros. But your main focus isn't on that. It's on this, friend. You need to focus on asking yourself questions that lead you to answers. So for example, I drew that in this amount of time. How can I do that faster? I really struggled on this. How can I make that easier on myself? What references do I need to get more of and better next time? The quality of your questions will 100%, I guarantee this, it's going to guarantee you how much time you're taking on certain things. But if you're asking yourself questions that result in you putting yourself down, then guess what? Don't expect much of your artwork, because you're conditioning yourself to suck. Have you ever considered that? Now, I bet you've got some real awesome ambitions with your artwork, right? And along with that too, you're inevitably gonna face some hard parts of your artwork. And what are you doing there, friend? You're dancing around it, and instead you're doing everything you wanna do. But now you might be thinking to yourself, oh God, is he about to tell me that I gotta eat the frog and just do it? No, I'm actually not, my friend. Here's what I'm gonna suggest for you. Is why you might be surprised to hear this, but I'm gonna recommend a lazy approach. Oftentimes, especially like after I have a super long day or I'm working on a really hard piece that's really demanding of me, one of the things that I'll do that helps me get into the flow really easily is I'll open up that document and I'll go ahead and just ask myself, okay, I'm feeling stressed about that. Where's something comfortable that I can work in for a little bit? Where can I work for the next 20 to 30 minutes? And then I can go ahead and I can shift to something harder. What this is all doing, it's about combating resistance, because that's the number one key to you understanding how do you unlock greater speed, is not how do you actually move your hand faster or paint quicker, or what tools to use or hacks or plugins to use. No, friend, it's this. How do you decrease resistance to doing things that you don't want to do? If you start off by attacking something easy, what you do, you build confidence, and more importantly, now you've built momentum. You're starting to chug along like a train down the tracks, okay? Allow yourself to build some trust and build some enthusiasm. What I've always found ever since I started implementing this and encouraging other people to do that and hearing their feedback from it very similarly, is that you build enthusiasm for the piece, because once you get into it and you start to feel happy about it and you're rewarding yourself like I'm suggesting, then inevitably you feel more comfortable to tackle the big stuff. It's just like if you were to go ahead and do an intense workout, do your warm-up first. You get the blood pumping, you get all the endorphins running through your system. It's the same way with your artwork. How's that sound? Now, to help you see the big picture about why you're not moving as quickly, I want to ask you this. When you get a puzzle, let's say you get a 1,000 piece puzzle, how would you approach that? So if you're smart, what you're gonna do obviously with any puzzle is you wanna go ahead and construct your border and work your way inwards, right? But what most of y'all are doing is you're trying to find 2 or 3 pieces and fit everything around it all frustratingly, and then suddenly you kind of feel like you took too much time because what you focused on is not the most efficient version of that. Now, how does this relate to your artwork? Because you're too focused on what doesn't matter in your workflow. Everybody loves details, right? Like, I love details too. But what I see all too often is there's so many artists that get so hooked on details that they neglect everything. Let's put this into another context. Let's say that you had 5 kids, but guess what? You're only paying attention to one of them, and now the other 4 are completely neglected. So it's the same thing with your artwork. Stop focusing on what's unimportant all the time because you're sacrificing everything else about it. And then inevitably, you're gonna feel like crap about it the whole time, don't you? Because you're so focused on like a face or a little belt buckle or a little hair strand instead of focusing on the entire character, the entire scene. By doing this too early, you miss what really matters. So for example, here's my artistic process, just to throw this at you. First off is I have a 3-step system for all of my line art. I do a super messy one, then I do a slightly more detailed one, but it's still super rough, and then I do a nice clean one after that. Then from there, I just do a basic color and lighting fill. It's all just big, heavy brushes. I'm not looking for anything in particular, and the entire time on this, I'm working zoomed out. Then from there, I do a very light render pass, and then finally, I bring it to its full fruition. One of the things that really helps me is that I tend to work really zoomed out, and I'm gonna encourage you to do the same. Stop working zoomed in so much, my friend, because you're focusing on what is insignificant at the cost of what is the most significant. I promise you this, if you dedicate more time to working zoomed out than zoomed in, you are going to inevitably feel so much better about your artwork. Now, inevitably, you will need to get into that final little detail phase, but listen, that should be like the last 15 to 20% at max. How's that sound? Or are you somebody that likes to work like somebody who is in a geriatric community with 200% font? Because maybe that's why you're working too slow. Now I wanna let you know why you're better at training a dog than training yourself. So let me put this into context. Let's say that you don't want your animal, dog, cat, guinea pig, whatever you have, to go ahead and jump up on the couch. And every single time that you see old Rover sitting on that couch, what do? Maybe you run after him with a newspaper. What do? Eventually they just learn not to jump on the couch, but not to jump on the couch when you're around, because guess what? I bet if you went away for a whole day, you come back and look at that, Rover sitting on the couch again. So he didn't learn his lesson. So what do? They teach you to positively reward them. So in that same spirit, you need to positively reward yourself every single time that you are making artwork. At the end of everything that you do, don't just go ahead and just come out of that feeling totally drained, feeling like you just have no more energy left, or maybe you do a big grunt or a sigh afterwards, like you went through something challenging, my friend. You gotta go ahead and pat yourself on the back. And here are some very easy and quick ways to do this that are pretty fun. And so number 1, let me ask you, what's your favorite snack? Like, are you a big Skittles fan? Get yourself a big old bag of Skittles, and every single time that you exit your drawing process, give yourself 3 Skittles. Listen, even just having like a few chocolate chips is a great dopamine reward for your body. And what you start to do is you start to positively associate your time with your efforts. And this is how you can literally brain hack your way to wanting to do more and wanting to do better and wanting to go faster. Another easy way that you can do it is you can do it with drinks. Like, do you love to have a cup of coffee afterwards? Do you like to have, like myself personally, I love to have like a Diet Coke or something. Anything that you can do that is a minor reward for a big payoff, that's what you can do. Now, however though, you can't work this to extremes. You can't be like, yay, I did my 30-minute sketch. I'm gonna play 8 hours of Zelda today. No, friend, you missed the point. That's not good time management. You need to go ahead and give yourself a little something for a lot of what you just did. Now, this is especially important for you because it works in the opposite effect too. Because listen, if you come off of your drawing time and you're just disrespecting yourself and you're telling yourself how much you suck and how much you didn't get done, you will remember that. And did you know this? Now you're gonna get hooked into thinking that art is not a positive experience, but it's a negative experience. And then what are you gonna do when you feel a negative experience? You're gonna wanna run away. You're never gonna wanna do it again. You're gonna continuously feel bad. And you're just gonna hack your brain into thinking that everything you do is gonna suck. And then guess what? Your art is gonna suck because you told it so and you conditioned it to feel that way. My friend, what I always want you to remember is this: you will always sustain your first impression and your last impression every single time that you have a drawing session. And if this video is making a great impression on you, I sure would hope that you hit that like and subscribe, because I love to help motivate you and to get you into a higher level of your artistry. And if you go ahead and throw me some love back like that, I'd appreciate it, because you are gonna love this next tip. Now, what if I told you that your entire speed, your entire flow, your entire process boils down to just one singular question? And it's one that I propose to my students every single day, because I work with about hundreds of artists every single day, asking them the same exact question. I can guarantee you whether or not you're gonna feel accomplished and you're gonna start to level up your speed, or you won't. And it's this: what are you doing? What is your plan? What do you want to do? Because what I seem to notice a lot of artists do whenever they open up their canvas, whenever they sit down to work on what they're doing, whenever they're sculpting, is they literally just sit down and I'll be like, hey, what do you want to do today? And they'll be like, I don't know. Or let's see what happens. This is the equivalent to either being a rocket or just a meandering cow in a field. And you can choose which one you want to be, but I'm gonna assume that you don't want to be the slowpoke snail that's just crawling through the process. And essentially what you just need to figure out is, do you have a target every single time you're working, or are you just meandering through your process? Because real talk, I'm gonna guess that the longer that you work, the less motivated you are to finish it, the more stressed you become, right? So think about it like this. So what if you now started to figure out what's your goal every single time? And the way that I'm gonna propose you do this is from two perspectives, which is a type A or a type B person. So here you go. If you're a very type A person like myself, go ahead and just make a nice list of what you have to do and what order you have to do it. And think about this from the perspectives that I'm gonna offer you throughout this entire video. So it's like, I have to do the hair, I have to do the clothes, I have to do the face, I have to do the background, all of the above. Now, if you're more of a type B person, this is the type of person, by the way, who gets really stressed out about the type A version of this, okay? Here's what you can do. You can create kind of a mind map. You might even want to put these on sticky notes and just have them up around wherever you're working, like right on your wall, right behind you or something. So just go ahead and write down everything that you would for a normal type A person, but because you like to jump around a little bit more, because you're a little less structured type B person, you can go ahead and you can just take them down, or you have a list and you just kind of mind map everything out in a non-sequential order, and then you just cross them all out. The big takeaway from this is that you need a North Star, and most artists are just sailors lost at sea, because they're just gonna sit down and they're gonna go, let's see what happens today. And inevitably, what happens today? You just don't feel good about what you did, and you feel like you didn't do anything at all. And you're probably doing some of the other things that I'm gonna talk to you in this video about, just like this. Now, if I were to ask you, how much time does it take you to finish your average piece? What would you tell me? Usually most people will scratch their head and be like, if I had to guess, this many hours or this much time or this many days, right? Well, what if that's also the main reason why you're moving so slow? Why you feel like you're stuck in first gear instead of you're cruising down the Autobahn? The next tip for you is that you really need to figure out what is your metric for your time. Because I hear a lot of artists complain about how they're not utilizing their time, or how they're not getting things done, but they're also not measuring how long something takes to do and not doing it properly. Here's the thing. If you want to gauge your success, you have to have a metric for gauging that. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And in case you didn't know this, but if you're just going to guess your way through your artwork, then inevitably you're going to continuously be stuck in what you're currently doing. Honestly, I see this as two different extremes. I see a lot of artists that are like, man, I took forever on that one. It might take you a month to do something, but you only work for 5 hours on it. I've also seen people be like, man, I'm just really slow at this one. And it's like, well, yeah, because you keep on hitting the same areas over and over and over again for over 10 hours. Like, there's two different extremes that you can lie on between this. And is this you, friend? Have you felt this? So how do you do this? A few different ways for you. Number one is that you can go ahead and just write down your time when you start, write down your time when you end. There's also like loads of apps that you can use for this one. I have a lot of people in my mentorship that like to use different apps on their phones that they just click a start button and they click an end button every single time that they sit down. Another great way is for you to just go ahead and record yourself. yourself. And I know that might seem horrifying for some of you, but honestly, like through doing this and myself, I have really noticed how much my speed has leveled up throughout the last few years. I never would have had that knowledge and understanding of my own artistic metamorphosis of my time management if I had not been accurately measuring it like this. And now this is going to not be something that you're adherent to throughout your entire artistic life. Like there's definitely a point in your journey where you won't need that measurement as much, but it'll be more of an observation piece so that you can see your growth. And won't that feel awesome when you can actually see it instead of you working for years and you're like, man, I'm still a slow artist. Yeah, but what you used to be able to do in that amount of time, what you can do now, it's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna make you feel more empowered. It's gonna make you feel more encouraged to continue to go through that. See how that works? For my digital friends, let me just ask you this. I'm gonna hit you with this really big question right now. How many layers do you typically work with? Come on, let me know about it. Are you one of the people that like loses track of them? Are you one of the people that maybe you're working in an extreme amount of excessive layers? Like, do you have upwards of like 50 to 100? What I'm gonna say about that is that when you work with a lot of layers, it's extremely convenient for you, but it gives the delusion of control rather than the actual effect that you're seeking. So my friend, I'm gonna encourage you gotta be more organized, okay? So here's what I generally do, and here's my general process, is that first off, I'm gonna encourage you, get in the habit of labeling your layers. It's not that hard, y'all. Like, just figure out what's gonna be on some things and label it. Another thing too, is that I'm gonna encourage you to work in no more than 20 to 30 layers on that one, okay? I'm also gonna give you some additional thoughts on this one to really supercharge, because honestly, you're taking too much time figuring out what layer that you have to paint on, or then oopsie, you worked for like 30 minutes on something on the wrong layer. Another thing you can do is this. Go ahead and make sure that if you're painting on too many layers, ask yourself this question. How can you condense them? So get in the habit of merging them down. One of the things I very typically do while I'm painting is I'm going ahead and I'm making a new layer, and then after like 15 to 20 minutes, merge it down. And then if I'm gonna work on another section and I'm not sure how it's gonna turn out, I'll duplicate it and then delete it after about 20 minutes. If you get into this habit, you will be combating not just your slowpokish tendencies, but also more importantly, your fears and anxieties. Because real talk, that's the reason why you use so many layers. That's the reason why you can't get out of this habit of going super slow. Another easy thing you can do is, if you didn't know this, you can go ahead and color code all of your layers. Like one of the things that I do for my big illustrations, like when I have multiple characters and backgrounds, is I'll go ahead and I'll just colorize each of the thumbnails to a specific color. Like character A is red and character B is blue and character C is green, and then the background is gray. This helps me figure out, again, as I'm just very quickly looking at everything, okay, I can see at a glance, these are the general layers I need to be in, and because I named them, I can jump right to it. It's just because you're just trying to circumnavigate your anxiety by having, again, the illusion of having a ton of control, but you don't. You're actually causing excessive confusion instead. So can I tell you how your overstimulated little monkey brain is actually sabotaging your potential? So let me go ahead and give you a hot take on this, because there's so much out here on the internet and there's so much everywhere around the world that deludes you into thinking that there's always going to be an easier way to do things. And when you look at everything in our modern society, everything is fast and it's now and it's immediate. And we're trained to think everything comes quick, everything comes immediate, and everything just has a quick little hack or a little hill that we can get over in order to do it. Well, listen, friend, that is a complete waste of time on your social and emotional and mental resources. There's no point at all for you to feel bad and to take time out of your day to get down in the dumps over what you're not doing in the period of time that you have available to you. Listen, you have a window to work with, okay? You have a window of time frame in this life to utilize it. And if you are wasting that time to feel bad about yourself, first off, I just want to give you a hot take on this, but that's a choice to do that, okay? And therefore, if you have the ability to feel depressed about what you're doing, then you also, therefore, logically, also have the opportunity to feel proud of what you've been able to accomplish. Does not matter how long you've been doing this, does not matter how much time you've been working on something. As long as you're seeing some level of growth and progress, that's something to be proud of. As long as you can see that you've dedicated yourself to learning something, no matter how good you are or you aren't, that's something to feel proud of. But if you're feeling this way, that's robbing you of your potential. That's robbing you of your time. And every single time that you exit your draw session, where you inevitably take way too long to do every single part, like I'm saying about in this video and teaching you how to combat it, then that's why your time sucks. That's why you're not improving. That's why you keep going slow, is because you are wasting time feeling bad about yourself. So I just want to ask you this. Do you want to invest time into that, or invest time into developing strategies and putting the time in? Because an honest reality is that your time is a measurement of your proficiency over time. And what I mean by that is, again, we're trained to think everything comes immediate, but y'all, proficiency does not have a time limit. You might have heard of the 10,000 hour rule, and that's legit, yes. However, though, you can also hack that to half the time or even a third of the time. Because one of the things that I've been able to do, especially when I work with people in my one-on-one mentorship, which is a link to down below if you're interested, I've been able to help people supercharge their efforts into what they haven't been able to do in the last 5 years into a few months. So think about how you're utilizing your mental resources, and if it's serving you or if it's just putting you down and keeping you entrenched in how you're currently feeling. Now, in your process, my friend, how long does it take you to make decisions? Are you oftentimes approaching your artwork just like it's a big giant super buffet? You've just got so many options. And my friend, I can kind of put it to you like this too. Have you ever noticed that the more options you're presented with, the less likely you are to make a decision? Well, that's often what happens, especially at the beginning and middle of everything. You're looking at your entire artwork and you're like, oof, all of this sucks and nothing looks good and I'm not happy with any of it. That also leads you to therefore looking at everything that you could do. Well, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could color that. Okay, now you're afflicted by decision paralysis. And I see this so often that people will be like, well, Sean, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what color to do. Well, my friend, you need to take some steps to just making quicker decisions. Because my friend, I wanna let you know this. The longer that you stay in indecision, the longer that you are going to waste your time. So here are some suggestions for you. Number one, working digitally nowadays, just duplicate layers. If something's not working out for you in like 20, 30 minutes, get rid of it, okay? Also, along with that too, dedicate yourself to doing no more than 3 different versions of something. Let's say, for example, you're not sure what color you want someone to be, right? Go ahead, make 3 different versions of it, and then try 3 different colors. And then at the end of that, you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna come to one decision. My friend, the way that you get out of analysis paralysis is just by you taking action. So rather than you staying in what you're currently doing and wasting time in that one, dedicate yourself to this philosophy. If you make a decision, it is 1,000 times better and more productive than you being indecisive about it. You will never get faster by trying to try too many things. What we need to do is just move. It's kind of like trying to push a car up a hill, okay? If you stop, it becomes harder to continue, rather than if you just keep pushing because you've got momentum on your side. How's that sound? Now, if you're still pretty new to this game, you might be thinking, well, Sean, I don't know how to do this stuff, or I'm looking for there's an easier way, or I don't quite understand how I could use that tool, how to do that better. Well, I got an entire video for you right here. It's gonna teach you the most high value art skills that you can start to implement in your artwork starting right now. Thanks so much, and if this was helpful, please share it with somebody you know. See you next time.